Florida officials have said that there's not much other than pythons and alligators in the area. What do you want people to know about this location?
Well, if there's only pythons and alligators, I'm wondering what I'm doing in that area and what my people and my family have been doing in the area for centuries.
Tell us what is there beyond what they're describing.
There are about 19 traditional villages as well as our main reservation. There's also numerous gladesmen who've been there for quite a while as well. So it's not just the tribe that has a footprint in the area, but, fellow Americans.
How close is this proposed detention center to your reservation, and how may this detention center impact your tribe?
It's about a 20-minute drive from our reservation, but as I mentioned, there are villages right by. In fact, it's less than 100 yards down the road from one of our Panther Camp villages, a village that would often take our students to go gigging, to engage in traditional activities. So right now, I would say it's reminding us that we are not done trying to secure our future like we thought we were.
Much of South Florida draws their drinking water from the Everglades. Should the 8 million people in the region be concerned?
I would always be concerned when there's an increased presence within the Everglades itself and the Big Cypress. Anybody who spends any amount of time out there can tell you there are a myriad of issues that still need to be addressed, whether it's pollution or invasive species, and those haven't been addressed to the capacity they need. And now we're adding further potential issues upon that. And you're adding stress to an ecosystem that's been under enough stress already for centuries.
And billions of dollars in state and federal funds, as you know, have been poured into restoring the Everglades in recent years. Do you think that this facility will impact those restoration efforts?
It has to, because the policy that's being enacted in place right now, it's taking away from the attention of that restoration efforts. And even going back to the restoration efforts, the reason the tribe has always been involved in these, or tried to be involved in these discussions, well, we're supposed to be consulted with matters to do with the Everglades and Big Cypress. And that is a concern of ours as well, is that we were not consulted in the process of this.
This is being paid for by state and federal emergency response money. As we enter hurricane season, what's your concern?
Well, that FEMA money is very valuable in South Florida, just like many other places that are impacted by hurricanes. And we've already been impacted by hurricanes over the years, just like many other Floridians. Not too long ago, I was in Naples and Fort Myers doing some outreach, and I saw a lot of communities that were still impacted. A lot of homes still abandoned because the resources haven't been allocated to fix those places up again. So the tribe itself has already seen the type of stress that gets put on the local and the federal government during these times of like hurricane season. And, if it's not able to fulfill the duties it's supposed to during those times, just because of how stressful everything is, now you're adding another layer of complication on top of that.
We've seen video of people protesting, not wanting it in their backyard. You've named a few of your issues. What do you think is the biggest concern? And was there any process here?
It was very rushed. As I mentioned, we were not consulted. And as soon as we got wind of it, it seemed like it was already there in our face. It's always a concern when we're not consulted with matters to do with Everglades or Big Cypress, since we have been the people here before there was even this type of government around us. We've seen the full changes, have the context to provide. And I think that's why it's important that our voice is not discarded in this process.
I come from Panther Clan. We're basically one big family living out in the Everglades. Living out here is very relaxing and cleansing, especially to be part of my people and part of my family. I drive airboats with my family, so driving out there in the water, hunting and fishing, it gives me a view of life, and it makes me mature and grow up than living out in the city. There's nothing like the Everglades. I mean, historically, it's pretty sad to see how a lot has died out, but for it to keep going and that resistance is something to hang on to. I mean, we have these prehistoric alligators, these birds, all kinds of wading birds, and deer and bears. My ancestors must have lived a really long and hard life. So there's a reason why they stayed for thousands of years, and it's something to hang on to.
The Everglades is in many ways like the heart of this ecosystem. It is the source of the freshwater supplies for about half or more of South Florida. It is the source of drinking water. It is an incredible carbon sink, which to a great deal offsets many of the emissions that are being produced in South Florida. The tribal government puts a great deal of emphasis on protecting the natural ecosystem. Within the Constitution of the Miccosukee Tribe and the very preamble of the Constitution, there is a duty for the tribal government to conserve the Everglades. Within the Central Everglades, there are quite a few threats to the tribal way of life and to the ecosystem which the tribe manages. There's a lot of polluted water that is coming south from Lake Okeechobee and from the agricultural areas which surround it. The tribe was successful in its litigation in the mid-2010s in enforcing its own water quality standards. Additionally, there are really high water levels covering the Central Everglades. This is not natural. It is the product of artificial management, which is raising these water levels and swamping traditional tribal lands. There is a great deal of invasive species which are beginning to colonize in the Everglades. These are disrupting the native species foodways and settlement patterns. There are threats to Miccosukee's continued access to the natural ecosystem in here, particularly within Big Cypress National Preserve, where the federal government has proposed a potential wilderness designation, which could restrict tribal access to 147,000 to 192,000 acres. All tribes are sovereign nations. This means sometimes when there is another sovereign, like the state of Florida, that has not taken measures to protect the ecosystem, the tribe can take its own measures within the limits of its sovereignty to affect those changes. And oftentimes this does mean going above and beyond what the federal or state government would do in order to protect the Everglades.